2 years ago, we were discussing the Tulsa race riot and just how half of all of black Tulsans were arrested and hundreds were killed and millions of dollars of property was destroyed. We also talked about the effects that are still there today, looking at North Tulsa, looking at crime rates, looking at poverty rates, all these things. I challenged the students, what can be done? I think a lot of times the power majority people feel like when you're calling on them to fix the problems of the past, they feel like they're being accused of causing those problems. Like, you are not responsible, you're not guilty, but you are responsible in the way that as Christians you are called to care for those less fortunate than you, and that there are still effects of terrible things that have been done in the past. And so I asked them, what can be done now? It's really hard with big problems. It feels like too much. So let's just say, yeah, it's a problem, but we don't do anything about it. I challenge them not to do that. We want to think of what can we actually do to be a small part of trying to fix some of these problems. Something that our school can do was to try to help with education in areas that had problems of racism and discrimination in the past, which was Northeast Oklahoma City. Initially, the idea was for this to be another elective that the students could do. Instead of debate or drama or art, they could do this volunteering at a school. It was instead changed to, this is something we're going to do as a school. We're going to modify our schedule, and we're all going to go.
The first time I went to Thelma Parks, I was really skeptical because I haven't been doing this kind of service work with kids from less fortunate areas.
So last year I came from Dibble High School. I wasn't really sure how I felt about coming to the academy. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. And the first time I went to Thelma, it really sealed the deal. Like, I knew I was going to like it just simply because I got to spend every Friday with this little girl I absolutely adored.
My little girl, I have two actually. They're both very, very energetic.
My kid Nelson, he's really funny. He likes telling stories about his family and about his siblings.
She asked me if I liked being at Thelma, and I said yeah, and I asked her if I did a good job, and she told me I could do better.
My kid this year, his name is David. He's a lot of fun. He has, I think, 11 siblings.
My kid is named Leah, and she makes me laugh constantly because she is so meticulous about everything that she does. We'll do a little craft and then she'll keep it in her pencil box to remind her of like the fun times that we've had together.
One of my kids was told not to do a backflip by his teacher, and then the day we went outside, he specifically went in front of his teacher and did a backflip.
So the student I see every Friday, her name is Ramaya, and she is in 3rd grade. She's very passionate about school and academics and doing well. I love seeing her every week, and she calls me her best friend.
At this point, later in the year, we're like actually friends, and she can tell me about what's going on, and I tell her what I'm doing, and we've added another girl, and they're best friends, and so it's been really fun with both of them.
One of my other kids, he says the funniest things. He explained to me why I shouldn't have a phone, and he told me that it'd be because I'd be on it all the time and I'd never spend any time with my girlfriend. That was shortly before I told him that I didn't have a girlfriend.
She makes me bookmarks. Her name's Amaya, and every time I walk in the room, I know where she sits, and we just make eye contact and both smile.
When we were doing bookmarks, she would make me like monster bookmarks was her thing, so I got a lot of those.
And also gave me a bookmark, and he gave me one of his pencils and he wrote his name on it so that I would remember his name.
She gave me a Christmas present, which was a book that she bought from her school's library, and a notebook and a candy cane, and so I got her friendship bracelets. She has hers on every week when I go.
I'm actually right now in the process of making her a bookmark similar to the ones that she's made me.
The bracelet I'm currently wearing right now, she gave it to me.
It's been really awesome to get to work with him every week and give him high fives and hang out with him and watch his writing come a long way over the course of this year, and watch him get better every week, reading instructions and doing the projects and being able to think more about what the science experiment actually does.
We go and we help them to learn science.
The main reason we do science at Thelma Parks is because for them that was the main need that they expressed. And so in that sense, science is sort of our in to have our students interact with their students. In many ways, the teachers there would love to just have our kids interact, but they need to be able to promote something educational, and it really is. Science is one of the things that most quickly is taken out of the curriculum when schools get pressed for test scores, when you have failing readers in every grade. And so science and the arts are the two things that are usually taken out most rapidly. Both of the third grade teachers who we work with work very, very hard to integrate science into the curriculum. They see the way that that enlivens students and what it gives to them. And so what they've asked us to do is not come in and try to teach their curriculum. Instead, they want us to offer extensions or engagements, ways that maybe they wouldn't be able to engage with the students, ways to excite the students about science. And so they're okay that it's not a set curriculum, that we don't have these standards or guidelines, that we're free to come in and just do experiments which are fun with the kids. Because there's not a set curriculum that we're using, because we don't have to follow their standards, it frees us to find extensions and explorations that we think are enjoyable. Last year, most of the time that meant Thursday afternoon internet research and a quick trip to the dollar store, because we didn't have funds. We could only equip them with the most basic things. Now, to be clear, that was educational. The kids learned a lot, and it was a way for our students to engage. And so those were both good things we saw. But part of what we wanted, and part of the reason we had the Academy Awards last year, was in order to communicate to these students and to their teachers that we see their full value, and we see them as worthy not only of our time and attention, but some of our resources. We wanted to be able to bring in things which were perhaps things they would not get a chance to interact with. And so early on this year, we did owl pellet dissections. For many kids, this is something they would never see. For our kids, it's normative. They're used to having access to things like that and other resources. But for these children, this was an experiment that may be once in a lifetime, unless we or someone else comes in and provides that opportunity. And to see them come alive with this experience, to see them figure out, oh, owls eat animals, and I'm actually pulling this apart and seeing the bones. Many of them wanted to keep the bones. They thought it was really cool. They would find a partial skeleton or a whole jaw. And so to see that level of excitement, you have third graders, sometimes third grade girls, who want to keep little tiny mammal bones, is a real excitement. It's allowed us to do things like buy Jenga blocks to talk about force and motion. And so to have kids have access to things that they might have at home, but it's never been something that's been integrated into a science curriculum, is something that's been a great joy and something we continue to hope to be able to provide to them.
I think it's more the kids teaching us about ourselves than it's us teaching them about science.
We aren't the Good Samaritan who goes and saves the person, but we are the person lying on the side of the road, hurt, and we need to be rescued. And it's almost like these kids are our savior, and they can show us that even in like the darkest of times that there's still hope and there's light and there's reason to be happy, and they help us to see that. They'll tell us stories of their home lives, and it's sad that they're going through that, but at the same time they always have a smile on their face and they're always excited to see us, and they're passionate about what they're doing. They always are joyful no matter what the circumstances are.
I think the biggest benefit that our students have received is the one-on-one attention that they get with these children, sometimes two-on-one depending upon the size of the class, and especially for those students who have someone they can work with across a semester, across a year, the development of that deep relationship. For our students, that's why they continue to want to go. We could go and do anything with these kids, and it would be a sense of pure joy. What the students receive is some individual attention, some one-on-one attention, which might actually be quite a rarity in their life, just because of their parents perhaps working two jobs, because their teachers having 20, 25, sometimes 30-person classrooms. That sort of individuated attention is something they simply don't have. We've seen expressions of incredible gratitude from the teachers we work with. They've told us before, they stopped me one time and said, you realize you're what keeps us sane on Fridays? that we get this 40 minutes when your kids are engaging. And what they shared is that Friday afternoons are the time when they're most productive educationally, and they have the fewest behavior problems. And that's not because we go in and we somehow set this strict structure. It's simply that these children, having been poured into for 35, 40 minutes of this individuated attention, that fills a need in them, such that when we leave, they are actually able to, out of that sense of fullness, interact with their teacher and interact with the material in a very focused and direct way. And so to hear from the teachers that is something that they see, a marked difference in the kids. is something that then, as we talk with the students, we're able to say, this is the impact that you're having, and you don't even know. Because for you, that level of individuated attention isn't a rarity, but for these kids it is. And to see them come to a new understanding of what a simple physical presence and focused attention can do for another human being transforms the way that they relate to each other.